This is the Kindness Matters podcast, a space for stories that inspire, challenge, and bring us a little closer together. If you've been looking for a reminder of the good in people, you're in the right place, because kindness matters, and so do you. It's kindness we are. Hey, hello, and welcome everybody to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathman, and as I always say, because it bears repeating, we all have just so many hours in every day, right? And the fact that you chose a portion of one of your hours to tune in and listen to this podcast, this episode, means the world to me, and I'm grateful beyond words. Although I use words, so maybe not. I'm very happy that you're here, and you guys are going to be so happy that you're here today because I think we have a fantastic show for you. My guest today is Kendall Moore, and she is the heart behind Cloudy Day Chronicles and the author of the children's book Mom's Cloud and the beach adventure Shining Light on Mental Health. I think I got that right. Yep. I'm getting a yes. Kendall is a Maryland-based writer and mental health advocate who creates whimsical, emotionally supportive stories that help families talk about big feelings, especially the heavy ones that are maybe sometimes hard to name. Her gentle cloudy day metaphor and her commitment to authenticity offer hope, language, and connection for anyone walking through a hard season. And she's here to help us explore what kindness can look like when the weather inside our hearts isn't necessarily sunny. Welcome to the show, Kendall. I'm so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time. And the book is so cool. Where did that book come from?
It came from a bedtime story with my daughter where I was starting to realize that she was a lot smarter than we expected her to be at her young age. Aren't they all?
Happens a lot, right?
And she was picking up on some differences between how mom had to experience her day and how dad experienced her day. And I took on the weight of that. I took on guilt and parenting. And I said, how can we talk about this and kind of break the cycle of, okay, yes, it happened, but I'm very aware of mental health. I'm an advocate for it. And so let's just ask her about it. And from it came explaining to her with a cloud analogy. And from that came this little rhyming story. But as the story developed, it turned into the full book and kind of platform.
Nice. And I've heard some of your other podcasts, and you often use weather as a metaphor. What does kindness in every season mean to you personally?
I think it's a foundation. Kindness is just a foundation of knowing how to, I guess, try and be nobody but yourself. So that's the internal kindness of being kind to your mind. And that's really hard, admittedly, in mental health. But also a kindness of knowing if you aren't kind to yourself, giving for others kind of tends to make people who internally struggle. It's a good divergence to be kind to others and kind of do what you can't do for yourself. And then just general kindness of the people around me who understand I'm struggling, have learned how to be there for me in a way that's authentic to me.
Yeah. And you touched on something really important right there, being kind to yourself, right? Especially when we're struggling, and we all have those days, right? That we struggle, and and maybe it stretches on beyond days. What does kindness toward yourself look like on our hardest days?
For me, and really where the book came from was trying to not hold on to one negative as the entire narrative of the day. And that is where the conversation of the book came, because it was a bedtime story. So at the end of the day, we can have this big day full of all of these activities, and if something went wrong, if I was stressing about something or I snapped or didn't gentle parent, I was holding on to it so much. And the narrative I can so quickly write is, I'm not the best parent. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have given her a parent with mental health. And the kindness at the end of the day was to ask her, what was your favorite thing today? And she would have little moments. And if I asked her, I said, what was your least favorite thing of the day? Because that was my worry of her saying, like, oh, the time mom did this. But she never came up with what I came up with. And so
Yeah.
it was this ability to stop fighting my own mind and say, they're not holding on to what you're holding on to. So why are you holding on to it? And why is all this stuff more important than all the little things? And so it was that ability to just step back and say, okay, you are not the worst version you're writing in your head. You're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's sometimes we always worry about what our kids think about what we do or say. And I think it's surprising. And I don't think everybody asks like you did, first of all. So we just go along with that. We just keep carrying that, right? We're like, oh my God, my kid thinks I'm such a loser, or my kid thinks I'm the meanest person in the world, or whatever that is, whatever that stress is. And it probably not, right? It's probably not your worst fear, just like you said. Um, when you came up with this book, because I think it is important to let kids know that, they're mommy and daddy are going to have good days and bad days, right? And all adults do, right? Well, even kids. But how did you come about being able, because I don't think I could put into words for, well, at this point, my 4-year-old grandson, for example, you know, what emotions are or what stress is. How did you come up with that formula, that language?
The beach was so easy. That it writing it was what, and I'm doing a workshop on this soon, actually, and it's trying to think of one place where not necessarily you're different because of emotions and mental health, just one easy, tangible way where you are different than someone else there. And so the beach was our spot. I do not like the feeling of lotion. So when we got to the beach, it was always, we're very excited, but we know sun lotion has to go on first. So we stop, and dad is immediately in charge, because I will tell them, it's like, you have to find dad. So they know at the beach, mom tags out. They knew that I don't love going in the water. I'm very cold afflicted. I don't love the cold ocean. I don't like the feeling of it. And so it was, if you want to go play, you need dad. And they knew that. And it had nothing to do with mental health. It had nothing to do with dad's better, mom's worse. It was just, mom doesn't like lotion, mom doesn't like water. So when we started having that conversation, I was able to tell her, okay, imagine mom has a cloud and we're at the beach. You know how when we're at the beach, mom can't do lotion and mom can't do water? I was like, some days it's like that. Mom can't do what you need her to do. And it's because the cloud, the same way the beach is because lotion and that. And so it was able to translate. She already knew and recognized that was different, and how to kind of put that in an analogy she can carry. And then the idea of sunlight, really, because in the book, a lot of it is shaded to show Like, mom is aware it's very sunny around here. I'm aware that I can start playing and it will probably be a great time, but I can't yet. And the cloud with the shading was the easiest way to say that is why.
That's genius. That's genius. It's perfect. It's a perfect analogy. And your book shows that it's okay not to be okay, right? Why is that message so important for families?
I think it's well important for anyone because we
True.
so much we think we have to be on. We think like there's such a high bar for like smiling through every single thing. And the second you stop, people think it's the end of the world. And like for me, it's very hard because I'm an extrovert. And so I'm very talkative, I'm very going. So the second I'm quiet because I'm just tired, everyone thinks something is wrong. Like, and I'm like, I don't, it's not. I just don't feel like the energy right now. And so the problem is it's like in a sense I set this high bar, but at the same time, it's not that I set a high bar, it's just that people don't understand that I don't wanna always be there.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I say I'm an introvert, but my wife used to call me the jabberbox. And I don't know if it changed after COVID. A lot of things changed after COVID, right? I used to love being out in public settings like business networking or something like that, those networking events. I had a lot of fun at those. And now the thought of going into a room with dozens of people terrifies me. I can't. I just can't make myself do it. Well, a couple of years ago, I thought I should really make an effort to try to get out, and I went to a Toastmasters meeting here near me, and I went once, had a great time. Next week, could not make myself go. Nothing I could do. So I get what you're saying. I understand. There's a point where you're just like, I don't wanna.
And also, because it resonates with the cloud, people tend to see the silver lining a lot, and you're just like, "I just wanna sit under it." So especially in parenting, if I just wanna like, right now, my daughter doesn't sleep. It's the worst, and she
Oh
comes
god.
in, she wakes us up for, like, 3 a.m., and she's like, "I need water, I need this," and we're like, "You know where to go. Like, go get it. Don't go do it yourself. Be independent." And a lot of people will tell us like, "Oh, you're gonna miss those moments," but I was like, "No, I'm not. Like, I just want her to go get water herself. Like, let me just complain about how awful this is. Don't tell me that I should cherish every single moment and that I'm a bad parent because I don't wanna answer her every little whimsy request because she needs me at night." And then people are like, "You need to cuddle her all day." And I was like, "I work from home some days. Like, I have enough time with her. I want my sleep." So, like, no, I
Yep.
don't co-sleep with her. I don't do anything. Like, that is it. You were supposed to be in your bedroom. And when I talk about those emotions, like, people push back a lot on all the stuff you should be feeling. And I was like, let me just feel what I actually am feeling, and then this will go better.
Yeah, yeah. So, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, you created stories to help kids understand emotions. What are some simple ways that parents can teach them at home? How can they teach kindness? Are there phrases or tips that you could give to our listeners who are parents, how they can talk to their kids, or help them
There
understand
are
emotion? Go
And
ahead.
and they're not mine. I don't know who, like, I'm citing, it's just the internet from scrolling, but the ones that I love, which I do recognize in my kids a lot, is, that Montessori-style languaging, so explaining everything. So we don't really just say, "No, don't do that," because she won't really get why we're saying no, and then it'll just make us look mean. So we explain,
Right.
like, "Hey, if you make a mess, you're gonna get hurt," or if you touch that, you're gonna get hurt, like, that's not safe, or what's your plan to do this? And even with her toys and stuff, Like, right now she has Barbies. I was like, "If you cut the Barbie's hair, like, it's never growing back." Like, tough love lesson, and so a lot of it is just taking that second to walk her through those steps. Now, sometimes we do pull out the "because I said so," because 'cause I'm like, "You just don't know what to say." But
Right.
we really narrated a lot of her life, and then in that too, we made sure to balance that with the positives. Like, one thing I had read that I loved, and we see it, is to talk about your kids to someone else so they can hear. And so often when she's doing something really well, like, I'll tell our dog, I'm like, "Look at Alma cleaning up, like, isn't she doing such an awesome job?" But I know she can hear it, and she gets this confidence, and now my son, who's learning to talk, whenever he helps me, he'll go, "I'm so helpful," and it's because we kind of say it
Love that.
over and over again, and I love that they are getting that kind of positive affirmations, but
Yeah.
also in a way, we tell her, like, "Good job" to her, but it's also important for her to hear us talking about it and kind of do it in a way that feels authentic to her.
Yeah. Yeah. I never actually thought about that. I've always done the whole, "Well, you're very helpful," or "You're doing a great job," or, um but, yeah, I didn't stop to think what impact that might have on a kid if they hear you talking about them in a positive way, obviously, to somebody else. Because, yeah, that would be a huge confidence boost, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Now, the one that always catches people off guard too is because I try and I come from that millennial divide where there's the argument over like participation awards and what we created and stuff. And I was like, I get it. I was in it. I'm there for it. So a lot of times she'll do stuff and people will just compliment her nonstop, but it's not like the best stuff. And so, for example,
Yeah.
like she'll draw something that I know she can draw really well and it will look really bad. And she'll come over and she'll show it and we'll be with someone and they'll be like, "Oh, this is amazing." And I'll look at it and I was like, "No, it's not. You can do better." And like they get shocked because they're like, "What?" I'm like, she
I would
can. She
imagine,
can
yeah.
do better. Like, if you just tell her every single thing she does is amazing, it's not gonna be meaningful to her when it's actually amazing. So, like, let's stop pampering kids too. Like, let's tell them,
So
"Hey,
finding
try."
that balance.
Yeah, so sometimes she'll do something and she'll be like, "Watch me do this," and I'll be like, "Try harder." Like, and it's not tough love, it's just realistic. Like, if I
Yeah.
do a poor job, like, I do want someone to tell me, "Hey, great try, but you can do better." And I'm like, we also need to prepare them for that because that's the mental health side of it too. Like, if we expect everyone to be amazing all the time and that first person's gonna come along and tell them they're not, they're gonna kinda get down on themselves. So it's like, I try and balance that too in parenting where
Sure.
it's like, "You're not doing a great." Like, "That's cool, you can do better."
Yeah, absolutely, and keeping kind of with that, and this may have we may have already talked about this now that I look at the question. Um, what are some phrases or tools that families can use to talk about emotions in a healthy way?
I
Did we
like,
just
let
kinda go over that?
Yeah, no, to go on emotions too, like, letting them feel their feelings, like, it is hard because there are times, like, even this morning, she was crying about something, and I was like, "That's not what we need to cry about," but I think it's telling her why. I'm like, "You can cry if you got hurt or this happened, but if you're crying right now, then I wanna talk through, like, what's making you upset." And so, for us, it's just we really do identify stuff. We use a lot of analogies too. So when she sees me upset, she'll ask me, "Is it a cloud or something else?" And I'll be like, "It's something
Oh,
else." So she knows that language. Hers is a tornado. So I do ask her, I was like, "Are you having a tornado or are you just being mean?" And if I can tell if she's going to try and get out of it by saying tornado. And I'm like, "No, you're just being mean." So then we talk through that and we really much identify, like, all across the spectrum, like, we try and name what's going on. I'm like, "You're being mean right now," or "You're being really nice to your brother, you're being really kind," and so I think it's also overly giving them the words. So just kind
yeah.
of name what it is and tell them what's going on, and I'll tell her sometimes, I'm like, "I we have a circle house." And so
Okay.
sometimes it helps me a lot because I'll tell her, I'm like, I don't like you right now. Go do a lap and come back. And I'll tell her, I'm like, you're being angry, Alma. Go do a lap and come back and be silly, Alma. And it's trying to identify and break where she is. And so, I think parents just need to like talk about it and they need to find that way to just really take it right on. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
I love the fact that all the emotions are weather related. Uh, so, like, when your son gets upset, is that a blizzard or
Oh, no, his is fun. His is a rock.
a
He
rock?
he's not the talker, so when he gets really upset,
Okay.
it's actually I feel bad because half the time he's really upset, I start laughing because it's, like, the cutest thing ever. He just gets all, like, pouty face, and he'll, like, sit in this little rock, and he just won't move, and I'll, like, step over him and stuff, and I'll tell him, like, "When you're ready, like, come on up," and when he's getting really moody, I'll even tell him, I'm like, "Go be a rock over there," and that way I know he, like, will stay still and not move. So, he's kind of just done his own different thing.
Yeah. So when you give families a shared language for their emotions, you got the rock, you got the dark, the cloud. How does that change the way that people treat each other? Family, I guess. Does it does it make a difference when you name those things and use that?
Yeah, I was having a great conversation about this yesterday 'cause it's something in the ease of if I were to text my husband and say, "Hey, I don't wanna go out tonight." He'll probably come back and go like, "Why?" Or, "I thought we had plans and we were gonna do this." But if I tell him, "Hey, I don't wanna go out because I have a cloud." It's that he's like, "Okay, I got it. We're not going out. What do you need instead? What do you wanna shift?" And at the same time, like, I don't necessarily have the emotional capacity to always text him the fuller, longer sentence. "Hey, I have a cloud because I have a flare up because this is going on." Because sometimes having to say it is a lot of emotional weight too.
Yeah.
And so the cloud became this like shorthand script of just something bigger is going on. Maybe I'm going to talk about it. Right now, I'm not ready. So sometimes I'll be able to even text him or friends and just be like, "Hey, there's a cloud." And then they know how to ask differently than if I was just saying,
Sure.
"Hey, this is going on." And sometimes they can also use it themselves to check in. Like if I cancel plans and it's not usually like me, then friends know like, is it a cloud or are you canceling plans? And then if I say yes, it is, then the way they're checking in is different than any kind of other not like guilt, but like people are gonna wanna
Right.
know sometimes why, something is shifting or changing, and sometimes you're just not ready, and so I found that for me at least and our circle, it has been a better, like, shorthand to get to.
Yeah. And I think probably that probably helps with miscommunication, right? Because if they know that it's that and they know what "it's a cloud" means, they don't just go, "That Kendall, she canceled on us. I have no idea why, she didn't say." And then they develop feelings, right? And but this way, that kinda cuts that all out, right?
Yeah, and I had that experience where I wasn't ready to talk to some people about stuff, and I
Yeah.
had been canceling plans a lot, or I've been changing plans, and they had finally come out once and said, like, "Hey, when we make a plan and then you change 8 million things, like, it drives me crazy," and that was my time where I was like, "Okay, I have to I have to open up about this." So I had to say, like, "I need to tell you that I am going through a lot of emotional stuff." And that I do it from this I make the plan when I'm very anxious and I need something on my schedule, and then when the day comes and I haven't gotten over the anxiety of it, I can't get myself to go out, and so I start to change it out of guilt, and I start to
Mhm.
change it out of trying to push myself out, and ultimately I can't get there, and so we had sat down and and said, and this was like before the book, and we had sat down and they said, well, what's the best way that I'm not upset with you and you're not overwhelmed by me? And I was
Yeah.
like telling them, I was like, well, I'm working on this language at home where I kind of call it this. And that was like my first time I said, like, can we make plans? And I just tell you, like, hey, I have a little bit of a cloud. I can use plans, but if the cloud stays, I need to cancel them. And that has been our kind of different way of saying, like, now we both are on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you think it's possible that our hardest seasons that we go through can actually grow our capacity for kindness?
Yes, I think even though like parenting has been a really hard season, even right now I'm going through like autoimmune stuff and it is like my cloudiest days. This morning I even woke up and I was like really upset and I'm like, now I have to go do this podcast. And
Stupid
but there's
podcast.
something about the idea of the kindness at the end. So everything I'm doing, we do a lot of acts of kindness through book proceeds and give backs and paying it forward. And being in the world of mental health has been like, yes, I'm going through it. I think going through it and being open about it means that the cloud is there, but it's not as dark. And it has given me the ability to take off a lot of that pressure on myself to then be able
Yeah,
to turn and give back. So I'm not weighing so heavily on myself and I'm doing kindness because it really is just what brings me joy. And I'm not doing it out of any like guilt or kind of stuff going on.
right, yeah, and I love how you were talking about that at the beginning, and you said that it can be a diversion from your cloud to go out and do those acts of kindness, whether it's, whatever it is, um, and that's so true because I've noticed that years ago, I was going through some mental health stuff, and I had another podcast, and I was talking about current events type stuff. It was shortly after pandemic, and by the time I did, like, a year of that, right? By the time I got done, I was like, "Oh my god." I was always angry. I was depressed, probably clinically, although I couldn't afford to go to a psychiatrist and find out. Um, but once I started doing this podcast about kindness and meeting incredible people like yourself, um, I have not had any other, not to that extent at any rate. We all have our good days and bad days, right? But to the extent that I was back then, I just feel better because of what I'm focusing on. I'm sure of it.
Someone asked me because I was doing all this, like, am I going to still go to support groups and stuff? And I was like, I'm not solved. I'm not fixed. Like, even
Right,
this
right.
morning, I'm trying to find a new therapist now, and that's an emotional journey. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but there's just something in going through it and being open, and then the people you meet in communities in these spaces are like
Yeah,
that world is just even if you're having the worst day and you go and you hear from someone else that they're having a bad day, you don't feel alone. And so I
exactly.
really surround myself with this like these groups where I'm like, yes, we're in a support group. And I tell them every support group, I said, I hate the reason we are all here, but I love that we are all here. And
Yeah,
that is that feeling of the kindness that we go on days that not just the days we're struggling. We go on days we're having successes too, because you need to be there for those that are struggling to show you're not alone just because you're in the struggle. It's
right.
it's not a negative that I'm here and I'm in the success because even I had gone to my support group the last few weeks and I had all successes because I was doing book stuff and it was happiness. And I
Yeah.
remember kind of at the end of it pausing and saying, "Can I just speak again?" And I said, I don't want anyone to feel bad that I've only been talking about successes because I'll tell you, it's gonna cycle
Yeah.
around. Like that's how it works. And
24 hours from now, it could be a whole
yeah,
different story.
and I'm going here like on Tuesday after maybe I process it all weekend. And so just this reminder of and that's kind of that overwhelming kindness thing too, is being able to say it's okay if it goes either way too. So I don't have to
Yeah.
only have successes and then be really hard on myself when I struggle. I need to remember that there are these things that give me joy and I'm going to get back to them when this passes and the cloud passes is usually what I say.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So last question. If your message could stick with somebody who's listening today for years, what would you hope they carry with them?
But it's
Good
okay to
question.
not be okay. it
Boom.
that's it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is. And I think we place way too much importance on, you know, I'm going through something right now and it's going to be here forever. And because it won't, right?
Yeah. And that's why in so much of the book when it's hard because I'm in like the author world and people want to talk about, what it's like to be an author and what it's like to market and stuff. I was like, I don't know how to answer because I think in some respect I'm so different because there's something different that I get out of this. It's not about selling the books. It's about getting the books out there. And that is very
Right.
different in how I structure it. And so, even right now, I've been reaching out to bookstores and a lot of them, they want local authors. And I say, I want to tell you, I'm not local. But the reason I'm reaching out to you is because the community you're in has a lot of mental health initiatives. And what we have been doing in the book is we tuck in little surprises. So if they have a cafe attached, if they have a store, we put in vouchers for cups of coffee on us. And if they don't, then we put in like stickers and little surprise treats and stuff. So the idea is this you you decide to buy the book for mental health support and you open it up and there's like a thank you. Thank you for your kindness
That
in the
is so
mental health.
cool.
And it's just that's the happiness. And I know that lowers my margins and profits and whatever. And that's where I get the kind of feedback from. But I'm like, but that's why we're doing this because someone
Right.
decided to admit that they're having a hard time, that they want to open up this story and have a cloudy day. And I want to show them a little piece of sunshine in the world to say,
Yeah.
you had a cloudy day, so you got this book. Here's a cup of coffee. Like, go get it.
Thing. Yeah. Yeah. That is absolutely genius. I love that idea. Well, I'm going to have to see if there's any in my area because I want a sticker or a
I
cup of
do.
coffee or whatever it is.
I know I've sent some, I'll have to send you. I
Perfect.
remember the states.
Oh, well, Kendall Concini Moore, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. This is such an important conversation. And I love that you've written this book and that you're including your family in your conversations and helping some of my listeners maybe to be more inclusive with their family and help them talk about this. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Kindness is so important. Thank you for having a space for it.
Thank you. Will do. We'll be in touch and take care.
Human first, before the names, before the labels, before.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us for today's episode of the Kindness Matters podcast with my guest, Kendall Concini Moore. I really appreciate you tuning in and being a part of this kindness community. If you liked what you heard, leaving a quick review or comment really helps others find the show, and it means a lot to me personally. And hey, if you can't support us financially, that's totally okay. The best way you can support the show is to go out and do one random act of kindness for a stranger today. But if you are in a position to help us grow, you can make a one-time gift or join one of our monthly supporter tiers over on Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the show notes. We will be back again next week with another episode. And until then, remember, kindness matters. And so do you.
Every place left alright. We all rehearse the same song, 'cause we're human first.